Have you ever felt swamped by disorganized processes in your business, consistently reinventing the wheel? Well, today we're diving into the 5 common SOP mistakes that could be holding back your business and, of course, how to avoid them. Hi, I'm Mike Bandar, co-founder of Waybook, the tool that helps businesses streamline their processes and scale more efficiently. SOPs, or standard operating procedures, are essential for consistency and efficiency, but many businesses fall into the common traps that make them less effective. Here are the practical tips that will help you avoid these pitfalls and make your SOPs a real asset to your business, many of which are the basis of why Waybook even exists. The first common mistake is simply overcomplicating SOPs. I've recently worked with a marketing agency owner who could not understand why her team was quite inconsistent and was always asking her the same questions, despite her having one of the thickest employee manuals I've ever seen. And it was just that. It was one of the thickest employee manuals that I've ever seen, full of jargon and unnecessary details. Her team were just simply overwhelmed with all of the information and ultimately ended up avoiding using those SOPs altogether. So when creating your employee manual of SOPs, keep it simple with these 3 elements. Number 1, focus on the clarity and the purpose for each of your SOPs before you even start creating it. Ensure that you're defining what the purpose is of that SOP, who owns it, and who's it for. This has 2 positive impacts. First, it helps us stay more focused as the content creators, but it also helps our readers stay focused at the job at hand. Secondly, be specific and unambiguous. When you're creating your SOPs, use the approach of noting for yourself and then editing for someone else, essentially separating the process of gathering the information and drafting the SOP with preparing it for somebody else to read and follow. These 2 activities can keep you focused on the value, and they also help with the 3rd way of combating the overwhelm, which is using the right media. Gone are the days of using long-form wordy PowerPoints, PDF, Word docs. Make sure that you're incorporating images, videos, checklists, quotes, web embeds, files, or literally whatever is the best way of conveying that information that you're sharing. Often videos are really useful additions into SOPs, or consider using the free Waybook Shots tool to easily capture and share your standard operating procedures. By keeping SOPs concise and unambiguous and using diverse media, you can make them more accessible and easier to follow. Sarah, the agency owner I mentioned before, implemented a few of these changes. She slimmed down her handbook into a simple Waybook and saw significant improvements in her team's understanding and efficiency. Check the description for a link to some simple and highly effective SOP examples. Mistake number 2 is neglecting user feedback. While often the way that we do work starts in our head as a business owner, your team are actually the people who use these procedures on a daily basis. Their insights are invaluable to making our SOPs more effective. So not soliciting our team's feedback or ignoring it when we do get that feedback can actually be the easiest way to skip these efficiencies, which can often result in higher team turnover. So here's what to keep in mind. Enable an easy feedback loop with our team members. Look at how people are using the SOP playbook. Where possible, directly asking our team for feedback on individual documents, or if you're using the right system, looking at the rating that our team is leaving on interactions with our knowledge base, or perhaps the searches they're making within our SOPs. Once we've received that feedback, review it regularly and make your management of your SOPs an iterative process. Think about building a schedule of reviewing team feedback, or actually empower your SOP owners to receive this feedback and make those smaller iterative changes. Republishing your SOPs to notify your team on what those changes are and make sure that your SOPs continue to improve. By enabling feedback and using the analytics you have available, you can continuously improve your SOPs based on real user experiences. We've seen businesses who make this a monthly activity are not only able to improve their procedures, but making their team a valuable part of the process has boosted employee retention by at least 30%. The 3rd most common mistake is lack of accessibility. We've no doubt lost weeks of time searching for that latest information, or actually answering repetitive questions from our team on information that does live somewhere in some sort of document. But think, if we struggle to find the most most up-to-date information in a cluttered Google Drive or SharePoint, how can we expect our team to find the answers themselves rather than just asking us or one of their colleagues? There's a few simple ways to tackle this, and they are centralization, unified search, and multi-mode accessibility. What are they? By centralizing your knowledge base, you can easily remove the friction between your team and their SOPs. Centralize them into a single source of truth so everybody knows where to look, no matter what information they're looking for. When thinking where to centralize your SOPs, make sure that there is a unified search across that knowledge base. Having one folder where everything lives still isn't quite good enough, because it can still take a lot of time to find the right file and also to find the right piece of information within that document. A powerful search can truly save weeks of time across your team. To optimize this even further, choose a solution like Waybook that offers a powerful AI chatbot that acts like a manager, available 24/7 for all your team members, fluent in your company knowledge and your SOPs, private to your team, and is also ruled by your team's permissions. So it only shares the information that that team member asking should know. Essentially, delegating yourself. Finally, make sure that your team can access your knowledge and your SOPs where they need to do their work. The more you can integrate SOPs and knowledge within their workflow, the more friction you will easily remove. Be it on a website, in a browser extension, on mobile apps, within your Teams or Slack chat, or even accessible by scanning a QR code if you're wanting to attach your SOPs to a physical location or perhaps a piece of equipment. Removing the distance between your team and the knowledge is the name of the game. Now your SOPs are simplified, they're centralized, and you've got that feedback and insight pouring in, we can turn our attention to mistake number 4, and that is not keeping your SOPs up to date. Outdated SOPs can actually cause more harm than good. They're then the things that can lead to inconsistent practices and mistakes across our team. A popular burrito chain here in the UK had one of the best SOP playbooks I've come across, and they actually used that to successfully launch to new locations. But they then failed to update those SOPs to make them specifically relevant for each of their locations. Their SOPs quickly became outdated, and that was what led to those errors and inefficiencies. So here are some of the ways to keep them up to date. Firstly, set a review schedule. Dependent on what type of SOP it is, choose whether you want to review it monthly, quarterly, or annually. Even if it's just a case of confirming that it's up to date or actually making a really small iterative change to improve it. Empower your team to make it clear who owns that knowledge and who should contribute and who has the ultimate sign off of that SOP. And actually encourage your team to regularly make suggested changes and edits and those smaller optimizations, essentially to avoid that project of editing your SOP building up to become an epic task that will no doubt fall to the bottom of your to-do list. And finally, once you've decided on who does what, then you can utilize a review cycle, setting the responsibility of who is responsible and who is accountable for that SOP, making sure that you have the right people approving that as it goes through that approval cycle. Regularly updating your SOPs and assigning that accountability ensures that they remain relevant and effective. In the case of the burrito shop here in London, they made this change and they have a clear division of what knowledge is owned centrally and what information is owned by the branch managers and the process owners within those branches. And it's fair to say that those burritos have kept on rolling. As a top tip, empower your team to make small changes to the SOP, even if the procedure isn't changing, but you're making smaller edits on how you share that information. So changing text for an image or adding in a new video. This is a great way of making these smaller changes and making sure that there's more focus on how we document and delegate our work. Finally, the 5th most common mistake is failing to train your team on the SOPs. Even the best standard operating procedures in the world are useless unless your team is trained and knows how to use them properly. Whether it be part of your onboarding onboarding process, or regular training, keeping your SOPs as part of your internal communication is essential for keeping everybody on the same page. Simple ways to achieve this are creating learning pathways for your individual teams. Instead of just giving somebody a huge book of everything they need to know, create a custom learning pathway through that existing knowledge and SOP to enable them to have easy training and also to prioritize the most important elements for their role as part of their training. Now that you've centralized and organized your SOPs, make sure that you have a method of tracking your team progress and crucially their understanding. Where possible, add in various different questions or tests on the essential information. Firstly, to reinforce their learning, but also to confirm their understanding and give you that extra element of peace of mind. Finally, for the most important or sensitive SOPs and knowledge, think about how you may want to check for your team's confirmation, be it for your own peace of mind, or to satisfy regulatory or legal compliance. Whatever solution you're using for your SOP, ensure there's an easy way for you to get your team to easily confirm, accept, or agree as part of your SOP documentation. Training your team on SOPs and ensuring they understand them is the final piece in fully maximizing their effectiveness. If you're looking for the ultimate solution to streamline your SOPs and all of your other business knowledge and information, try out Waybook today. It's the easy way for you to create highly effective SOPs and a single source of truth for your team to keep your business on the same page. For a deeper dive into creating effective SOPs, check out our video on the steps to create an effective SOP. So whether you take and implement all of these tips or you just have a greater awareness of the common SOP mistakes to avoid, keep on innovating and keep on iterating. And until next time, I hope you enjoy some smooth scaling.